Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We've got another one in our Divi For Beginners series. Today, we're going to show you how to create a blog using the fantastic little Divi Blog Module. In our last few videos, we showed you how to set up your first blog, how to add categories, use the edit and quick edit. We're going to go ahead and put a blog together today. So let's get started. I'm going to start a new page. Call yours what you want. I'm going to use the Divi builder for this today. And I'm going to build from scratch. Okay, before I put anything in here, I've created several posts here. And each of my posts has got a category or a few categories. And like I say, if you're not sure what's going on here, look at the previous videos in the playlist down below. It'll show you how to set up your categories and first blogs. So we're going to set up a blog. And you can use different categories to display different posts, obviously. So let's go back over here. For mine today, I'm going to insert a single column, single row. Or even a single row with a single column, I should say. Funnily enough, we're going to use the blog module. There it is right there. Now, by default, it's going to throw in 10 posts and it's going to grab whatever posts are there. Now here I mentioned the categories before. This is where you can decide what categories you actually want to show. And I'll go through all these at the moment. By default, the design is full width. And that's going to give you, let's just dock this over on the left-hand side a minute. That's going to give you these full width posts with a title, some metadata, and a little excerpt down the bottom there. If you want to keep it that way, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to make mine into a grid so that we've actually got a few columns here to work with and you'll be able to see more. So before I go any further, let's go over to our design, to layout, and here's where you can switch it from full width, which is this default right here, to grid. And that way it puts it in with these little cards right here. And it's put in every single one that we've got there, including the default Hello World. The reason that has not got an image on top of it is when we set up our posts originally, you have to give them a default image on the edit page, and if you don't, one won't show up. But we don't want to see that anyway, so let's select the categories that we actually want to show here. I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to go back to my content over here. I want to perhaps, not sure if I've got 9, let's show 6. That'll do for me today. I'm going to say 6. And the categories I actually want to show in this one is, let's say, future tech. I know I've got 6 of those. And of course, you can add more categories and it'll show you different ones there. I add the CSS coding. Let's take away that future tech. You'll see here in the metadata, CSS coding, CSS coding. It's what we've assigned over here in our posts. And to reassign or add new, just hit the quick edit. You can quickly do it right there. Okay. Well, I'm actually happy with what's going on there. That's fine. Down below, we got M, J, and Y. That's the actual date format. If you want your name first, just flip it around to J, M, and then Y. So it's lowercase j, uppercase M, and capital Y. And then we got the day first, then the month, then a year. If you just want to show the year, just keep the Y. And we've just got the year there. The D24, if anybody's worrying, is the name. That's the author name right there. It's the site name also. Obviously, you can have multiple authors if you want to. If you do something you don't like what you've done, just select it, delete it. It'll go back to the default for you. Now you can choose to show an excerpt. That's what we've got here. And those excerpts I've actually put in each individual post themselves. So actually, let's go into the post so I can show you that. I'm going to close up the quick edit. I'm going to hit that edit. And if we go up here, hit the little chevron over here, we put an excerpt, our own excerpt in there. Go back here. That's what's showing here at the moment. If we turn that off, you might not see a whole lot of difference. Because what it's now doing is pulling it from the actual post itself instead of using the excerpt that we had over here. I tend to use this way because this way you can make them all the same length. And you can choose your length down below here, Let's change that to maybe 150. That's the amount of characters you're using there. Just make it to whatever size that you like. Down below we've got post offset number. If you want to skip one of these posts, which will be the latest one, you can put a number in there. If you put a 3 in there, it'll skip the 3 latest posts. And I'll show you how to use that later on for creating a latest post notification anywhere on your site. Let's move down to elements. You can decide whether to choose the featured image or not. Obviously, that's the featured image. If you want to, you can show a read more button. And it'll add the words read more, which is a little link down there, which will take you to the post itself. I'll show you how to style that later on. If you want to show the author, that's the author. That's the date, obviously. That's the categories, or those are the 3 categories we've got in this case. You can turn those on or off here. I think I'm just going to use the date on mine, so I'm going to get rid of the author. I'm going to show the date. And I'm going to get rid of the categories. Once your post has been up a while, you may get some comments, and you can choose to show how many comments there are with this little switch right here. If you prefer not to show an excerpt at all, you can turn that off. And you're just left with the featured image, title, date, and the read more button, which is kind of nice. I like to show a bit of an excerpt for a tease. Now, pagination, I've got none on this at the moment, but if I go up back to my content here and I make that 3, give us a little link to go to older entries there, because we've got no newer. This is our first one here. If we go back to elements there and turn that off now, it's gone, and that's the pagination in this case. Let's drag that back up to 6. Okay, we're happy with the elements there. Link-wise, I'm not going to link this to anything. I like it so that when they click on the featured image or the read more button, it takes them to that particular blog post itself. If you put a link in there, anywhere they click sort of in this area, or even on there that hasn't got a link, will take them to that particular link. But for the blog post, I don't put one in. Don't particularly want a background or an admin label. Let's pop over to design now and make this a little more interesting. Well, we covered layout. We've changed it from full width to grid. Overlay. If you want to, you can have an overlay on the featured image. When you hover over it, it's got that color on there. And of course, you can make it any color you want. Perhaps you'd like that white color to have a bit of opacity so you can see through a bit more. I'm happy to have no overlay. I don't feel like I need one on my little post like this. Next down, we've got the image. And you can give your image round corners if you want to, by putting a pixel value in there. And it's giving it little round corners all around. If you've got the chain checked, it's going to do all 4 sides at once. If you want to go crazy with some crazy shapes and things, you can uncheck that chain, and you can have different values for each corner and make crazy shapes. For me though, I'm happy. I'm going to leave it just as it was by deleting that, and we'll go back to how it was. If you want to, you can put a border around it. Put the border there, just increment up till it's got a bit of size to it. It's black at the moment, that's kind of hard to see. If I make it red, it makes it easier to see. But again, I really don't want any border around my images. And of course, you've got the other styling options. You can have solid, dash, dotted, double, grooved, ridge, inset, outset, or no border. I'm leaving mine to none. If you want to, you can add a little bit of box shadow under there. That just lifts it off the page. That's great for a lot of features. Again, I'm happy with it without that. Okay, well, let's move on down. I don't really want to use any filters or border colors or anything like this. We'll move down to the text next. And this first text tab will move all of this text at once. For instance, if I pop this in the middle, you'll see it's done the title, the date or the metadata, and the excerpt right there, as well as a read more button. If you want to use text shadow here, you can. I think if I put some on, it'll just make that smaller text a little bit blurry. Yeah, it's not really going to work for me. And of course, you can style the heading text, the meta text, and the body text individually, either by going to their tabs over here, or just click the little paintbrush that's associated with them. So just for fun, let's make that heading text black. It's already in the middle. Let's make it uppercase perhaps, and perhaps make it semi-bold in weight. And I might change that in a minute when I put a background in here. Don't want to change the text size or letter spacing. I'm happy with all of that. You can do similar to the body text as well, but again, I'm going to leave that and the metadata just how it is. Read more, or you can choose the color, you can capitalize, you can do what you want here, just the same as any other text. Well, what I'll do at the end of this video, it's not really beginner stuff. I'll show you how you can write a little bit of CSS code to make that look like a button. I think we actually did it over here, so it looks more like that button right there, perhaps. Okay. Pagination text, well, we haven't got any at the moment, but if you did have some, you could sort that out right there. Sizing, I really don't need to size this. That'll shrink the module down. And then you can align it within the column that it's in. But again, I'm happy for it to be taking up all the available space. So I'm going to just delete that. It'll go back to how it was. Let's roll that back up the top. Great. Spacing, I'm not going to do anything with that for a moment. And border, I might put a border around this. I think I'll give it slightly curved corners, top and bottom here. So let's maybe give it 10 pixels all around. Yep, that works for me. Fantastic. Box shadow, I'll come back to that. What I'm going to do is put a little parallax image in the background here just to make it a little bit more interesting. I mean, that's fine. But before I do that, let's just save what I've got here. And we'll go into the row. At the moment, they're displaying, like I said, in a grid, and they've got gutters down and between. If you want to tighten them up, we can go into the row, the green tab, go over to your design and sizing. We're in the row, remember here. We can use a custom gutter width. If you want to make it wider, you can do so by taking it to the right. If you want to make it skinnier, if you take it all the way to the left, they'll be touching. And we've got a real sort of grid going on there. And if you've got different amount of content in each of these, they'll display in a sort of masonry fashion, like you see with galleries. Don't think I want mine quite as close as that. I'm going to take it up to maybe 2. That's okay. That's great. So when you're happy with that, we can go back. We'll save the changes. And let's throw a little image in the section. Section is a blue tab always. You'll always find background under the content. I'm going to throw in an image. Let's use that same one as I used before. That seemed to work quite well. I'll use a parallax effect. I'm going to use CSS parallax, which is pretty much fixed background. That image will stay where it is as we roll up and down. I quite like that. Great, now we've got a little image in the background. Let's just style these a little bit more. So we can save what we got going on there. We can go back into our blog module again. And under the content tab, I'm going to go down to background. And you've got grid title background color here. At the moment they're white. That's fine. If you click on the color, got a little variegated slider here. You can let some of that image bleed through by taking the opacity down a little bit. And the more you take it down, the more you can see of the image behind there. That makes for a great little effect, especially if you use it with parallax here. Of course, styling is entirely up to you. Now we've got it like that. I think I'd like to have my text maybe a full black. And my header, I might want to make that white, I think. And I'll add a little bit of text shadow to that just to offset it. Makes it stand out a little bit easier. And my metadata, we've been kind of using an orange color for our links and things like that, and buttons. So I'm going to stick with my little orange color there. If you want to, you can give it a bit of text shadow. That will help that stand out a little bit too. If it looks a little bit blurry, try some of the other ones. That sharpens it up a little bit. That's going to work for me. Fantastic. Okay, even though you may have noticed we've put the same amount of text in each of these 150 characters or whatever it was I selected there, some are slightly taller and shorter than the others, and they're displaying in a masonry way, which is fine. The reason it's doing that is this title's dropped down to 2 lines. That's 2 lines. This is only 1 line. That's why there's a difference in height there. Let's just go up. We'll close this up at the moment. And let's go over to our advanced tab. Now I'm going to do a little bit of CSS here, and don't let that put you off. It's really easy. You can't break your site with CSS. If you don't like what you've done, delete it. It'll go back to how it was before. I've clicked on the Custom CSS tab here. I'm not going to use the freeform CSS, I'm going to use the module elements. And that gives us a breakdown of the elements that make up this module here. We've got before, main element, after, title, body, post meta, pagination navigation, featured image, the read more button. That's what I'm going to work on now. I'm going to turn that from just a read more type link there to something that looks more like a button, like this perhaps. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to use that orange color I've been using for my other buttons. I'm going to say background, semicolon. And I'll put this code down below the video for anybody who wants to copy it, paste it, change it, make it your own. As you can see, that's thrown a little orange background in there, which is great. But it still doesn't look very much like a button to me. So I'm going to give it a little bit of padding. I'll say padding. And on the top, I'm just going to get 5 pixels. And that'll give it 5 pixels all round, actually. If I give it another value, that'll be 5 pixels top, bottom, and 10 pixels left and right. That's given it a little bit more breathing room there, which is great. I think I want to make that text white, so let's try that. It may not work. White is FFF in CSS3. No, that didn't work. Okay, that's fine. We can actually do that in the read more text itself in a moment. For anybody who wasn't sure where that is, back in the design, read more text, or you can just hit the little paintbrush. If I turn that white in here, that's turned it white for us. Great, well, let's go back to our CSS over here. Custom CSS, module elements. Great, let's capitalize that text. So I'll use text transform for that. Text-transform. I want it to be uppercase. Great, that's made that capital. I want to give it slightly rounded corners. So I'm going to say border radius, border-radius. And I'll use what I used before, which is 10 pixels. In fact, I'm not. I'm going to make those fully rounded. Let's give it 50 pixels. So it's sort of pill-shaped like my default buttons. Fantastic. Well, that works for me. Let's just give it a little bit more space left and right. Let's make that 15 pixels. That's better. Great. Now I want to change the color of that button when you hover over it. And you can do that very easy. And this is common to all Divi modules. If within a module, if you roll over the dark writing, go to the thing that you want to affect, the read more button in our case, hit the little arrow. Desktop states when the mouse is not on it. And hover over here, obviously, is when the mouse is on it. And we can have completely different values. All I'm going to do is change it from orange to blue. So I'll say background blue. So when they hover over it, it's going to change from orange to blue. Fantastic. I would kind of like a little bit more space between the body text and the button there. So let's take care of that. Let's go back into the read more itself. Let's try bringing the line height up. There we go. That gives it a little bit more space. If you don't get enough, if 3M is not enough, when you've got it all the way up, you can select it and put in whatever value you want. I think that's going to work for me. They've all got the sort of breathing space they want. If you wanted all of these to be exactly the same height, we could take our heading text down so it all fits on the same line. We go in there. Here's the text size. If we start reducing it, well, I didn't have to reduce it much, but that works for me. They're all on the same line and they're all exactly the same height there, which works perfectly for me because we told it how much we want in here. And as long as those are all on one line, we've got exactly the same amount of metadata in there, it's going to work. So that's really it. Let's save what we got. Let's make sure this is going to work on the front end. Save draft or publish if you're ready. Let's exit the Visual Builder. And you can either click on the featured image or on the read more button itself. And that'll take you straight to the blog post connected to it. And if we go back, one other slight thing that I did with my other one, I gave them a little glow around here because we've got a kind of dark sci-fi looking background there. And you can use box shadow to make a little glare effect. I'm going to do that quickly and we'll call it a day. So let's go back in here, dark tab for the module, green tab for the row, blue tab for the section. I'm in the module. I'm going to go over to my design. I'm going to go on down to box shadow right here. I'm going to use this one. Now you can't see much going on there because it's dark on dark in a lot of places. But if we go down here and change that color to perhaps a blue or a purple, you can see it's kind of giving it that little neon glow on the background there. If you want to make it more or less intense, you can play with your blur strength. I'm happy with pretty much the way it was. And the spread's going to sort of spread it out more, obviously. Just play with it, get it how that you want it. Like I say, if you don't like what you've done, simply delete it. It'll go back to the default for you. And that's it. Great little things to have on your site, blog posts. And with a little bit of work, you can get something really interesting going on. So there you have it, guys. There's how to create your first little blog using the fantastic Divi Blog Module. Really easy to use, and as you can see, you can get some great little results here. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.